This week, 2024 Campaign Trail brings you highlights from the Libertarian Party's National Convention in Washington, D.C., and an in-depth look at Ohio's U.S. Senate race. First, though, the political headline of the past week. Former President Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts in the hush money case against him in New York City. Mr. Trump had this to say the day after the Manhattan jury returned its verdict.
So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put two sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let us do those things. But when the government wanted something, they got everything. They got everything they wanted. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Let me give you the good news. The good news is last night, we just got a report this morning, in the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38, a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period. No, think of that.
Former President Trump was also one of the speakers at last weekend's Libertarian Party National Convention. He was one of two non-libertarians who spoke at the convention, making his case that the party should support his candidacy instead of the party's own presidential nominee. Next, highlights from his remarks there, and the failed attempt to nominate Mr. Trump as a libertarian candidate.
A lot of people ask why I came to speak at this Libertarian convention, and you know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? But we're gonna have a lot of fun. Well, in the last year, I've been indicted by the government on 91 different things, so if I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. Our rights and freedoms have never been more in danger than they are right now. That is why I have come to extend a hand of friendship to ask for your partnership to defeat communism, defeat Marxism, and defeat crooked Joe Biden, who is destroying our country. He's destroying our country. We can be libertarian or anything else. This man is destroying our country. The fact is, we should not be fighting each other. If Joe Biden gets back in, there will be no more liberty for anyone in our country. combine with us in a partnership. We're asking that of the Libertarians. We must work together. Combine with us. You have to combine with us. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. And I stand before you tonight as your best hope of defeating the weaponized Biden and the very evil regime that his people, because it's probably not him because he doesn't know where the hell he is, but that his people are pursuing. You can make the difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. The Libertarian Party can make a big difference. Together we can make America freer than ever before for citizens of all backgrounds and all walks of life. We can unleash new hope, optimism, and energy. We can release limited government so that the people can have an unlimited future. United, we will be unstoppable. If we unite, we are unstoppable. I will be a true friend to libertarians in the White House. A great libertarian who may very well be in the room right now, I believe, but he's a great libertarian, DeRoy Murdoch, who I've become friends with through his writings in the American Spectator and numerous other places, wrote an article yesterday in which he mentions just some of the things that make me a libertarian without even trying to be one. That's nice. DeRoy wrote, Donald J. Trump will address the Libertarian Party and its national convention on Saturday. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice. Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Thank you, DeRoy. Thank you. No, only do that if you want to win. If you want to lose, don't do that. Keep getting your 3% every 4 years. The reasons for doing so, policy and politics, are as solid as the Hope Diamond. DeRoy says this event is very unprecedented, he said. As the Cato Institute president, Peter Gotler, observed in Thursday's Washington Post, it will be the first time think of this, first time in U.S. history that a presidential candidate of a rival party will address the convention of a party that is presumably gathering to nominate its own candidate. Now I think you should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together. You heard those words. Nominate me or vote. Vote for me. Because the Libertarians want to vote for me, and most of them will. And it's very important. Because we have to get rid of the worst president in history. And together we will. And without it, there's a risk that we could have 4 more years. We won't have a country left. So what is the purpose of the Libertarian Party getting 3%? What is the reason to take a chance of having this horrible president destroy our country, which he will do in far less than 4 years? It's not going to take 4 years. That is why I'm committing to you tonight that I will put a libertarian in my cabinet and also libertarians in senior posts. Pretty good. That's pretty big. Or you can keep going the way you have for the last long decades and get your 3% and meet again, get another 3%. No, you want to make yourself winners. It's time to be winners. You have a lot of common sense. It's time to be winners. So I'm asking for the well, think of it. I'm asking for the Libertarian Party's endorsement, or at least lots of your votes, lots and lots of Libertarian votes, based on my 4-year, very outstanding presidential record. Much of my record is Libertarian.
I'm Brian Piotr, New Mexico. I would like to nominate the greatest president of our time, Donald J. Trump. Point of parliamentary inquiry. Can anyone tell me on credentials if Donald J. Trump is able to accept the nomination? Okay,
Madam
guys.
Chair, object to consideration. I object to consideration.
I need you to
Madam
be
Chair.
quiet so I can hear. No, Madam Chair, yet. No points of order. We're in the middle of a nomination, and I just need to hear from my credentials chair if he has checked to see if Donald J. Trump is a valid member of the Libertarian Party and if he is registered Libertarian. So please hold on to your seats.
Can we
gonna
postpone and move along then?
Madam Chair, I just would like to confirm for the record and for our entire body delegation that I did take the opportunity last night after that to credential Mr. Trump. And in all of the profiles I did found, at not one time is he a basic sustaining member, so he does not qualify.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Potter. And I also learned that Mr. Trump did not turn in any nominating papers, but he was nominated, and it's nice to be nominated.
Independent presidential contender Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also tried to make inroads at the Libertarian Convention and received some support in the form of a nomination 2 days after his remarks to the group. Next, highlights from Mr. Kennedy's time at the convention in the nation's capital.
I'm curious to know how President Trump is going to defend his attacks on the Constitution when I meet him on the debating stage. I invited him to debate in front of you, in front of the members of this party, but he declined. At some point, I hope that he has the courage to stand up there so that we can all talk about these issues and to make sure that these assaults on our Constitution never, ever happen again. We need to have a civics lesson for the American people to make sure this is never repeated. When President Trump left office, the assault on the Constitution intensified. President Biden violated a freedom so fundamental that James Madison didn't even think to put it in the Bill of Rights. He never imagined that the government could mandate medical procedures to unwilling Americans in violation of bodily autonomy. But that's what happened during the pandemic. A program of coercion and information chaos and information control that prevented the public from making fully informed choices. But that wasn't the worst of it. He put the power of his office behind the assault of the one freedom upon which all other freedoms rely, the freedom of the press. We now know from the Twitter files, from the discovery in the Murphy versus Biden case, and from my own case, which is now in front of the Supreme Court, Kennedy versus Biden, at 37 hours after he took the oath of office, President Biden was colluding with the FBI to coerce the social media sites, Google, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, to open portals to allow the federal agencies to censor political speech of Americans. Well, I stand with you in valuing personal liberty. And I promise you that when I'm president, I'm going to protect your right to speak freely. I'm going to protect your right to assemble peacefully. I will protect your freedom to worship. I will protect your right to keep and bear arms.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name's Nathan Romig, and I'm from Pennsylvania.
And I'm Hector Roos from Florida.
and we would like to nominate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The single most important anti-two-party system candidate we've seen in our lifetime.
One moment. Settle down, settle down, settle down. And they have nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And he is a member of the Libertarian Party.
He is, Madam Chair, as the Credentials Committee Chair, I can confirm that he is a basic sustaining member.
He is a basic sustaining member, and it's my understanding that he did turn in nomination papers that had the required amount of signatures on them. Does he accept the nomination?
We have confirmation that he does.
Do you want me to call him and ask him if he accepts the nomination?
Yes.
Ringing. Good morning. I'm at the podium, and I need to ask you if you accept your nomination. I'm not on a microphone, but I'm at the podium. He's going to get back to us. We're going to jump to
Madam Chair, microphone 3.
We are going to jump to microphone 3.
Thank you. Dustin Blankenship, West Virginia. I do believe that I believe it's in the policy manual, if you are a speaker at the convention, you have to sign to say that you will not seek the nomination for president for the Libertarian Party. Therefore, his nomination is out of order.
I'm going to give you my ruling and another little piece of information. Mr. Kennedy did not sign any such agreement, and it was not during business hours or on this stage or during convention business or on this stage that he spoke. So your point of order is not well taken. I will also state that he did not turn in any statement on his intention to run to our secretary. So his nomination is not in order at this time.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. Mike Tremont from Virginia. As has been explained to my team multiple times, an inability to accept the nomination or unwillingness to submit the paperwork in a timely fashion is tantamount to declining the nomination. Indeed, the reason that I got out of bed this morning was to make sure that you had the paperwork, and I would have expected the same respect from Mr. Kennedy if he was serious. The Libertarian Party...
Thank you.
The Libertarian Party is quite literally convened. By definition, those who are not in the room today, I'll leave it to you to define.
And I have been informed that Mr. Kennedy did accept the nomination.
So this is the deal, guys. It's time. You guys in this body right now have a moment unlike any other. Every single one of you in this room right now have a chance to change the course of history, not just for this country, but for the freaking world. All right? I understand. Let's get something straight. Robert Kennedy is not a libertarian, okay? All right? Can we admit that? Let's just go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. All right? Exactly. But let's get something else straight. None of us, we are all misfits. We are all outcasts. There may be a few of you that were born libertarian, but for the rest of us, we found our way here. We found enough pain either in the Republican Party, in the Democrat Party, or whatever it was to finally decide that this is going to be our home.
I'm sending in this video from California this morning to let you know that I accept this unexpected honor. I've always admired the Libertarian Party. I have a deep alignment with the core values, the antipathy toward war, the commitment to end our addiction to forever wars, and the love of personal freedoms and liberties, the understanding that the only way that we are going to fulfill destinies that God created us to fulfill is by exercising freedom of choice, and that the United States Constitution is a global template for outlining those freedoms, and that those freedoms are sacrosanct. That the Constitution was written for hard times, and that there are no exceptions. I'm going to protect these rights. I'm going to protect your rights. I'm going to protect the United States Constitution. I'm going to end the foreign wars, and I'm very grateful. The Libertarian Party this great honor, and I look forward to an alliance across the country, a fusion alliance of all of these parties who are now challenging the Republican-Democrat corrupt duopoly.
After 7 rounds of voting that lasted nearly 14 hours, the Libertarian Party nominated Chase Oliver as its presidential candidate. Mr. Oliver, who ran for the U.S. Senate in Georgia in 2020 as a Libertarian, beat out other party hopefuls to be its standard-bearer for this year's presidential race. Next, some of his acceptance speech near the conclusion of the Libertarian Convention.
Thank you, Libertarian Party. Has today been a wild ride or what? Right now, there are 2 things that can be said first and foremost. I want to thank those of you who invited me to your homes, to your favorite restaurants, to your state conventions. I want to thank those who picked me up from the airport. Thanks to those who text banked so hard that the free and equal debates got me in, but they thought I cheated because we had so many votes coming in. I want to say thank you to all the presidential candidates who put themselves out there for the party. Okay? Those of us who all ran for president, we ate meals together. We took the same flights. We argued in several dozen debates. All of our arguments grew us stronger, and we are all better for that. I want to say thank you to the 500 members plus of our volunteer team who helped get the word out across the country, as well as to all those who donated this campaign. You made the hard work over the last 2 years worth it. Whenever we needed something, you answered the call. And for those who didn't volunteer yet, I urge you to get involved in this campaign, and let's help spread liberty across all 50 states. The energy that everyone brought is exactly the energy we need to make freedom win. Yes, I am the candidate that you have nominated, but it's not about me. It's about all of us. And it's all of us who will win when we spread liberty across this country. We will win because you planned the events, because you took care of me and picked me up from the airport, because you text bank your asses off to get us into the debates, and because you take every needed request and help this campaign. And I want to preemptively say thank you to each and every one of you who helps this campaign spread the message of freedom, liberty, individual rights, voluntary exchange, and peace from the war machine around the country. Now you're going to get asked, okay, what's Chase all about? Give me the elevator pitch. Well, here's the elevator pitch, you guys. If you're living your life in peace, free from force, fraud, coercion, theft, or violence, then your life is your life. Your body is your body. Your business is your business. And your life is your life. It is not mine to handle, and it is not the government's. Now, I know we've had a long day, and we've had many ballots. I urge you, we can make it a little longer. Now, so I'm actually going to get out of here, but what I want to say in closing is I'm fighting for a world set free in our lifetime. Are you fighting for a world set free in our lifetime? I'm fighting to end the wars that kill innocent people all over the world. Are you wanting to end the wars that kill innocent people all over the world? I'm tired of a monetary policy and an inflation that is destroying families across this country and forcing them to abject poverty for no other reason than the fact that we print trillions of dollars a year to fund those wars. Are you ready to end the inflation in our lives? Then I need you to get out and support me and get out and support my running mate, Mike Termott. Together, we will send the libertarian message loud and clear. I can think of no more fitting example of people coming together than a guy who marched in the streets as an activist for police accountability and a former police officer who understands the need for that accountability. Together, we are going to send this message out to the millions and millions of people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and in particular, those members of Generation Z right now who know they don't want octogenarians running their lives. They want to run their own lives, and we should create the conditions for that to happen. In the wars, in the abuses, in the excess taxation, hell, end all taxation. Because what is it? What is taxation? That's right, taxation is theft, and we're going to stop the thieving that happens from our state all over the country. But I need your help to do it. Thank you very much, libertarians, and let's set the world free in our lifetime.
Haley B. Miller is USA Today's Ohio politics reporter, here to talk about Sherrod Brown, the incumbent senator from that state, running for a fourth term. Haley B. Miller, what are his chances of re-election?
It's really tough to say this year. On the one hand, he is a longtime politician in Ohio. Even Republicans will acknowledge he's a formidable opponent. He's really good at retail politics, so he has a lot of support in the state. But this is an Ohio that has become increasingly red in the last several elections. Donald Trump is very popular here. And with him on the ballot again this fall, we're expecting Republicans to turn out and support not only Trump, but the folks that Trump support, which includes Sherrod Brown's opponent, Bernie Moreno.
How would you describe Sherrod Brown's politics?
He is pretty progressive, I would say, but he has always focused a lot of his messaging on workers' rights, and labor issues. He has not been shy about disagreeing with the Biden administration and other past Democratic presidents about issues like trade when he doesn't think it's serving Ohio workers. He has spoken out in favor of things like student loan forgiveness. He was a big advocate for the abortion rights amendment on Ohio's ballot, which passed last year and codified the right to an abortion here. So those are things that we see him talking a lot about for this campaign, and things that have always been kind of part of his brand.
Who are his supporters, and are those groups enough for him to win?
He has a lot of really big union support, which is going to be helpful to him in this election. Obviously, unions are important, not just in Ohio, but around the country. He has support from, Democrats across the state, abortion rights advocates. One thing I think that will be interesting to see is he will also be on the ballot, likely with a minimum wage increase issue that advocates are gathering signatures to put that on the ballot right now. So you may see some sort of overlap between those groups and Senator Brown's campaign.
You mentioned his challenger. What are his strengths?
First and foremost, he's backed by Trump, and that is an endorsement that plays well in this state. Trump endorsed Senator J.D. Vance back in 2022, and that propelled him to victory in the Republican primary and eventually got him elected to office. So that's really key. Moreno can also play kind of the political outsider card that has become really resonant with a lot of Republicans in Ohio, people sick of so-called career politicians, maybe looking for a change of pace in Washington. So I think he has that. He also has an interesting backstory. He's a businessman, and he immigrated legally from Colombia as a child. So immigration is a really big issue for his campaign, and something that we're hearing talked a lot about in Ohio right now.
What are his weaknesses?
I do think the political inexperience is a problem for him in some ways. He's never held elected office before, and I think that shows sometimes. He's also been inconsistent on his positions. He's changed his tune about things like immigration, gun control, and even once upon a time was critical of Trump. So Democrats have already been painting him as an inconsistent person, kind of just changing for the wind, whichever way the wind blows. And I think that's the message that we're going to continue to hear here through Election Day.
Describe their fundraising efforts as well as their ground games.
Well, Senator Brown by far has the fundraising advantage at this point. He's been around for a while, and he was able to raise money during the Republican primary last year when Moreno was busy defending himself in that race. So as of the end of April, I think Senator Brown's campaign probably had 14 million or so in the bank, and Moreno came out of the primary with about 1.7 million. Now they're both going to have support from tons and tons of outside groups from, the national Senate Republican and Democratic campaign arms, because this race is so competitive. So a lot of outside money is going to be pouring in. And of course, now that the Republican primary is over, those donors are likely going to unite behind Moreno because they want to see Sherrod Brown out of office.
Haley B. Miller, USA Today's Ohio politics reporter. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
A reminder, this program and all of C-SPAN's campaign 2024 coverage can be found online at cspan.org/campaign.